I asked you all if you needed life advice. This is what you asked me. Marzi Proto asks, I need to come out to my parents, but I'm in a really bad environment to come out, which would get my ass in some deep shit. Any advice? I am trans and pansexual and in a gay relationship. When talking about life advice, this is one of the most common questions that comes up. How do I tell my transphobic parents that I'm trans? Or how do I tell my homophobic parents that I'm gay? The answer is, sometimes it may be best to not tell them. If you're financially dependent on your parents and you're living in their house, the way that your parents will react will really determine whether or not you should actually tell your parents about your sexual orientation and that you're trans. If they would react negatively and kick you out of the house, then don't do it. Because while it sucks to not be able to tell them, that's much better than being out on the streets by yourself. You know what I mean? If that's the scenario, I would wait until you're financially independent from your parents, until you've moved out, and then tell them. Because at that point, it doesn't matter if they kick you out or not, because you don't live with them anymore. Now, if you think your parents might react negatively to it, but they're not gonna actually kick you out, then you might consider telling them, but really that decision lies with you. It's whatever you're comfortable with. You know, there's no real way to predict 100% how someone will react when learning that type of information, right? You know, they may not kick you out, but they may try to make your life a living hell, which wouldn't be very good either, you know what I mean? Or maybe they might not like it, but they'll put up with it because you're their child and they still love you, or maybe they'll be 100% fine with it. There's no way to really know how anyone will react. You can take a guess, and your guess is way better than mine because I don't know your parents. But if you think that telling them would put your own safety and your own health at risk by being kicked out and no longer being able to rely on them if you need to, don't do it, wait till you move out. But if everything would be fine, then go for it. Hamster Pig asks, when you graduate high school, how do you decide what to do in life? I love this question. I love talking about this subject because I feel like I have a very unique perspective on this one. I wanna make it very, very clear that college is not always the best option. That being said, it might be the best option for you. It depends on who you are. I think that college is really stupid and the college system is dumb, but that doesn't mean that it won't be beneficial for some people. But I do think that for some people, it is not worth it to go to college. So my advice is this. Once you graduate high school, I would make your number one task in life figuring out what you want to do for a living. What career do you want to have? Figure that out. Do not go to college until you know what you want to go to college for. Because if you go to college without having a major, being undeclared, which is what I did, you end up wasting thousands of dollars when you could already have been getting started on your major, you know what I mean? So know what you want to do in college before going. Otherwise, you're wasting money. And if that means you have to wait a couple years to go to college, it's really not that big of a deal. You can go to college at any time. There is no reason why you must go to college the year after high school. There's absolutely no reason why that has to happen. You can wait 5 years and then go to college if you wanted to. You could wait 30 years and then go to college if you wanted to. You don't have to go the year after high school ends. So the first step is figuring out what you want to do. And then the next step is figuring out whether or not you need to go to college to make that happen. If you want to be a doctor, or if you want to be a lawyer, or if you want to work somewhere like Google or Apple, you probably want to go to college. It's not possible to become a doctor without a college degree. It's not possible to become a lawyer without a college degree. I don't believe you can get a job at Google without a college degree. But if you want to start your own business, going to college for a business degree might help you out, but it's not necessary, and it may not be worth the cost of actually going to college. If you want to be a musician, if you want to be an artist, and even if you want to be an animator, you don't necessarily need a college degree for any of those things, but you also have to be very careful because your chance of being successful in those industries is very, very low. It's almost impossible. So if that's what you want to do, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a musician, animator, or something like that, this is my advice to you based on what I did. I wanted to be a musician and then I ended up doing the whole YouTube thing. It's the same thing. I went to college for 1 semester and I dropped out so that I could pursue other things that I actually wanted to do. And my plan was to try it for 3 years. If I wasn't successful, go back to college and do something else. So I worked at a grocery store for 3 years because you have to remember, you have to make money somehow. If you don't go to college, you're probably not gonna be able to make money off of your business or off of whatever career you choose right away. You'll have to make money somehow. So I worked at a grocery store for 3 years, and on the side, I worked on what I really wanted to do. I worked on YouTube and music on the side until one of them took off, and that's exactly what happened. And if that was never successful for me, then I would have gone back to college. The thing is, life is way too short to not try to have your dream job. You know what I mean? It's always worth a shot. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work out and you just go back to college. It's really no big deal. And it could also be that you don't want to do any of those types of jobs. You want to be an electrician, you want to be a plumber, you want to be a carpenter. In that case, you can learn how to do it all on your own, which is possible, or you can also explore trade school, which is like college for blue collar jobs. And these blue collar jobs do pay a lot. Like a lot. There's many options, and there's no way for me to know what's gonna work best for you. That's up to you to decide. But college is not the only option. There's so many other options to choose, and you may need to take a year or two off of everything to just figure out what you wanna do. There's nothing wrong with that. And anyone who says there's something wrong with a gap year is just a moron, really, honestly. The number one thing to remember is that there's so much artificial pressure in high school to choose your major immediately and choose your college immediately. But it's all artificial pressure. You can do that at any point in your life. So take a deep breath, relax, there's no pressure, take it slow, you'll figure it out. Days May asks, how can I gain more confidence in myself? Believe it or not, I used to have a very big problem with confidence. I was so shy when I talked to everyone, I had a huge amount of social anxiety. I couldn't even go up to a group of people that I've never met before and introduce myself. I couldn't do that. Now I can. You wanna know why? To gain more confidence, what worked for me, this might not work for you, but this is what worked for me. I just faked it till I made it, you know what I mean? I decided to start pushing through my social anxiety and going out of my comfort zone to meet new people, and it was very, very hard, but I pushed myself to do it. You know, when I went to a party or something, I would go up to a person I'd never talked to before, which was very scary for me, and I would introduce myself and say hi. And many of those people became my friends. But had I never done that in the first place, had I never introduced myself, I would never have made those friends. So what worked for me really was just pushing myself to go out of my comfort zone and forcing myself to do it over and over and over again until I became comfortable with it. I mean, I had extreme social anxiety. When I was put into a room full of people I'd never met before, I would be physically shaking, literally. Like nervous, you know what I mean? I used to be nervous to talk to someone at the drive-thru window at McDonald's. That's how bad it was. I couldn't even talk to someone on the phone. I was scared I would say something wrong, but I just pushed through it and forced myself to do it, and it worked for me. I don't know whether that can work for everyone, but that's just what worked for me. That's the advice I can offer you. It's worth a shot. Anne asks, how do you be gay without being judged and be happy with it? See, this could apply to a lot of things. How do I be insert whatever you are here and without being judged and being happy about it? The reality of the situation is you're always gonna be judged, no matter what you do. Doesn't matter. There's really no avoiding being judged, but what you should work towards is not caring when you are judged, just brushing it off and not even caring. And when you stop caring what people say, that's when you can become happy about it. The thing is, you're living your life for yourself. You're not living anyone else's life. It's your life. And life is too damn short, you know what I mean? You can't spend it worrying about what other people think. There was a point in my life where, you know, I really did care all the time what people thought. I wanted to impress everyone all the time. I think that's what contributed a lot to my social anxiety. But I remember very clearly, there was this one time I just decided to just say, frick it. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. And I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and I tried to just do what I wanted to do without caring what other people thought. And that was one of the most freeing times I've ever had in my life. You're never gonna avoid being judged by other people. It's never gonna happen. But it's not the people judging you that is the problem. It's the fact that you care what other people are saying that's the problem. When you decide to just stop caring and brush it all off and not even let it affect you, that's when you can really have freedom from what other people think. Because it doesn't matter if someone says that you look weird or someone says that they don't like what you're doing. It doesn't matter because you don't care. So really the answer to this question is be gay and don't care what other people think about it. Because who cares? My heroin stash asks, what is it like being an adult? Because adults make it seem either absolutely awful or it isn't a big deal. Being an adult is no better or worse than being a child. It's just different. It can be very, very easy and relaxed to be an adult, or it can be very, very difficult and stressful and complicated to be an adult. It all depends on the choices you make, the paths you take, and what you do with your life. For example, I have no children, I do not own a house, I have very, very few bills that I pay, so it's very, very easy for me to stay on top of everything and all my responsibilities because my life is very, very simple. I live very simply. Whereas a lot of people, they have a giant house, they have 7 kids, they have so many responsibilities, so many commitments, it can just be a huge mess and be a whole lot of responsibility. They have so many bills to pay. So that's one way to make it easy and fun, is just live simply. But a lot of people get into problems when they start creating their own problems. Don't get into debt. A lot of people get into debt on accident. They don't even know that they're doing it. A lot of people purposely get into debt thinking they'll be able to pay it off. The main difference from being a kid to being an adult is when you're an adult, you have to parent yourself. I have a credit card. I can spend up to $1,500 without any money leaving my bank account. And then I get billed for it a month later. I never, ever, ever spend money on my credit card that I don't have in my bank account. I never count on being able to pay it later. I just always pay it off every day. Pay off my credit card bill. A lot of people will just see that money as extra money. or that they can just borrow that money to buy flashy new toys or to buy video games or anything. Don't do that, because if you can't pay it off, then you'll be in debt. And that's a very, very bad place to get into. Being an adult opens up so many opportunities like that for things to go horribly wrong or very good, because having a credit card is a great thing. It allows you to build credit if you use it properly. If you use it improperly, it can destroy your life, literally. The difficulty level of being an adult really comes down to how you build your own life. I have decided to make my life very simple, very easy, relaxing, and fun, but you can easily make it the other way around. Another great piece of advice I have is don't have kids. Why would you do that? The difficulty increases by 400% once you have one child, and it goes up another 400% every single extra child you have. Don't do it. You know, oftentimes adults will complain like, oh, being an adult is so hard. I have to pay bills, I have these responsibilities, but they never mention that they're able to go in their car and drive anywhere they want at any time. You couldn't do that when you were a kid. So it's like there's positives and negatives to everything. You can eat whatever you want when you're an adult. You can do whatever you want. You're not as restricted as you are when you're a kid, but with that comes responsibilities. So it's a give and a take. I personally like being an adult much more than being a child. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you guys for submitting those questions to me. If you'd like to submit your own advice questions, there's a link in the description to my Discord. There's a channel in my Discord that is called #LifeAdvice. That's where you can post your questions and I might answer them in a future video. If you enjoyed this type of video, please leave a like. I wanted to try something different and I'm really curious to see, you know, whether people will like it or not. I don't know. I had fun doing it, so that's what really matters, right? If you enjoyed, consider supporting me on Patreon. Just $2 a month is all it takes on Patreon. You get access to almost all my videos early. You get your name put on this lovely list with these lovely people. It's just a dandy good time, you know what I mean? Every little bit of support helps so much. Thank you to my amazing patrons. Wouldn't be possible without them. And also, thank you to my channel members. You can become one by hitting that join button next to the subscribe button, which you should also click. All their names are on your screen right now. Channel members are basically just $5 patrons, but it's all done through YouTube. So if you want to support the channel, but you don't want to do it through any website other than YouTube, becoming a channel member is the way to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!